Like and subscribe to join us on this life-changing journey of purpose, healing, and divine destiny. The first time you heard your name whispered in the silence, you thought it was your imagination. You weren't in a church, a temple, or on a mountaintop. You were at your lowest, maybe in your car, crying after work, or staring at the ceiling, wondering why everything felt so broken. And yet, in that moment of despair, you felt something, a nudge, a pull, a whisper. It didn't come from outside of you, it stirred within. That's when it began. It's when God began choosing you all over again. You might ask, why me? You don't pray perfectly. You've made more mistakes than you can count. Sometimes you question if you're even worthy of being chosen by anyone, let alone God. But here's what most people forget. God doesn't choose people based on perfection. He chooses based on purpose. The very cracks in your story, the broken places you hide from the world, are often the entry points for grace to flood in. You were never meant to be flawless. We're meant to be faithful. Throughout history, God has chosen the unlikely. Moses had a stutter. David was just a shepherd boy. Esther was an orphan. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Paul persecuted Christians. Yet they became giants of faith not because they had perfect resumes, but because they responded when God called. Their weakness became their witness. Their pain became a platform. And their faith, however fragile, became a fire that lit generations. Maybe you've been waiting for a sign, something obvious, miraculous, or loud. But what if the sign is the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still holding on despite the storms? That's no accident. God isn't waiting for you to become someone else. It's calling the person you are right now. Yes, you with the doubts, the regrets, the scars, especially you. Because those who've wrestled with life often understand its value in a deeper way. You've seen the shadows, and now you're better prepared to shine. There is something sacred about the struggle. You grow in silence. You learn in the valley. The mountaintop moments are glorious, but it's in the hard, dry, difficult places where your roots deepen. And when God chooses you, it's not to make you more religious, it's to make you more real, more human, more alive. He doesn't need another flawless face. He desires a willing heart. And when your heart says yes, even faintly, heaven moves. In the days ahead, this story will walk you through the journey of being chosen, not just once, but daily. You'll see how God's hand never left you. How every detour still leads back to destiny. And how, no matter where you've been or what you've done, there is still divine purpose pulsing in your chest. You were chosen, not in spite of your past, but often because of it. And in that, there is hope. There is healing. And there is a future waiting to unfold. You've been told that faith means certainty, that real believers never struggle, never question, never falter. But that's not faith. That's fantasy. True faith doesn't erase doubt. It walks through it. When God chooses you, He doesn't expect you to have all the answers. Simply asks you to trust even when you don't understand. Doubt is not the enemy of faith. It's the ground it grows from. Think of Thomas, one of Jesus' disciples. He wasn't cast out for doubting the resurrection. Instead, Jesus met him in that very doubt, inviting him to touch and believe. Faith isn't the absence of questions, it's the courage to keep going with them. If you're wrestling with your faith, you're not disqualified. You're being refined. Life will hand you situations where belief feels impossible, times when prayers go unanswered, when suffering seems endless, when God feels silent. But even in the silence, He's there. The same God who calmed storms is also the one who allowed Jonah to sit in the belly of a fish for 3 days. Why? Because some lessons can only be learned in the deep. And even then, He never lets go. Walking in faith doesn't mean you won't stumble. It means when you fall, you get up again. Okay? When you feel weak, you lean harder into God's strength. Okay? When you don't know the way, you trust the one who does. Okay? You walk not by sight, but by belief in a love that's bigger than your circumstances. Not always easy, but it's always worth it. God doesn't use perfect people. He uses the persistent ones. The ones who show up even when they feel broken. The ones who pray even when they're unsure if God is listening. the ones who keep believing that their pain has purpose. And if that's you, then congratulations, you're walking in faith. So if today feels heavy, if you're doubting your path, take heart. God is not intimidated by your questions. He welcomes them. He holds space for your uncertainty. And in return, He offers you something priceless, a purpose that grows stronger in your weakest moments. Keep walking, wrestling, and not alone, and you're still chosen. Pain changes you. It shapes you. It leaves marks that sometimes never fully fade. But here, S the truth the world 1T often say, your pain is not wasted. In God's hands, even your suffering has a purpose. When you wonder why God allowed certain wounds, heartbreaks, or losses, remember He is not the author of pain, but He is the redeemer of it. Think about Joseph, sold by his own brothers, unjustly imprisoned, and forgotten. Years of betrayal and isolation marked his life, but when God's plan came full circle, Joseph stood not as a victim, but as a vessel. What you meant for evil, God used for good. He told those who hurt Him. That S, the God we serve, the one who takes the ashes of our lives and crafts beauty from them. Your story, too, is being woven together with divine threads. The tears you cried in secret, the silent battles you fought, the days you couldn't see a way forward, they matter. Not one of those moments is meaningless. In fact, the very things that brought you to your knees may be the foundation for your future calling. You don't have to love the pain to value what it taught you. God doesn't waste wounds, He transforms them. Your brokenness can become a bridge for someone else's healing. Your scars can become signs of survival. And when you share your story, not the polished, edited version, but the raw, honest truth, you give others permission to hope again. That is the power of redemptive pain. Even Jesus carried His scars after resurrection. Why? Because scars tell a story. They are proof that death did not win, that darkness did not conquer. God didn't erase His own. Why should you be ashamed of yours? You are not disqualified by your suffering. You are qualified by your survival. So lift your head. Let go of the shame. What tried to break you is now building you. Your pain has shaped your compassion. It has deepened your empathy. It has forged resilience you didn't know you had. And most of all, it has drawn you closer to the God who sees, who knows, and who heals. You're not just surviving, you're being sanctified. Saying yes to God is more powerful than we often realize. It's not just a word, it's a declaration. It's a spiritual agreement that says, I'm willing. Not perfect, not ready, just willing. And that willingness is what God uses to change lives. Not only yours, but the lives of others around you. Every great journey in Scripture began with a simple, often reluctant yes. Think about Mary, the mother of Jesus, a teenage girl with everything to fear and nothing to prove. When the angel said she would carry the Son of God, she asked questions. She felt the weight, but in the end, she said, "Let it be to me according to your word." That yes changed history. Not because she had it all figured out, but because she trusted the one who did. Your yes might not look like Mary's. It might be saying yes to forgiving someone who hurt you. Yes to trying again after failure. Yes to stepping out in faith when you're scared. Yes to letting go of something you love for something greater. But each yes builds a bridge to divine purpose. And every time you obey, the roots of your destiny grow deeper. We often wait for clarity before we say yes. But God usually asks for commitment first. He doesn't reveal the entire path, just the next step. And when you take that step, more light comes. Your yes doesn't mean the journey will be easy. Just means you won't walk it alone. The presence of God follows obedience like a shadow. Where you go, He goes. Sometimes saying yes feels risky, feels like letting go of control. And it is. But the truth is, we were never truly in control anyway. The illusion of certainty is comforting, but fragile. When we surrender to God's plan of N, when it doesn't make sense, we gain access to a peace that defies logic and a strength that carries us through storms. So what is God asking you to say yes to today? It might be something small, or it might stretch your faith in ways you never expected. But whatever it is, trust that your yes has weight. It echoes in eternity. It opens doors no man can shut. And it reminds heaven and yourself that you are willing to walk in purpose, no matter what. You are more than what happened to you. Read that again. You are not your past. God did not look at your mistakes, your shame, your worst days and choose you by accident. He chose you knowing every chapter of your story, including the ones you'd rather tear out. And still, he called you his. The world loves to define people by their failures, gives you a label, and expects you to live under its weight. But God rewrites names. He took Abram and made him Abraham, Sarai, and made her Sarah, Jacob, and called him Israel. When God changes your name, it's not just symbolic. It's a declaration that who you used to be no longer has authority over who you are becoming. That includes you. You might have been called broken, addict, failure, unworthy, or even just average. But when God chooses you, he calls you something different: beloved, redeemed, worthy, chosen, equipped. And that identity is not earned, it's received. It's not based on your performance, but on his promise. But let's be honest, it's as hard to embrace a new identity when your memories still haunt you. Regret whispers lies in the quiet moments. Guilt shows up when you least expect it. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He just wants you to believe you never change. But every time you hear that voice, remember this: God's voice speaks louder. He reminds you that transformation is real, that you are a new creation, that your history is a lesson, not a label. Your scars are not disqualifications, they're credentials. They show that you've walked through fire and didn't get consumed. They prove that grace is not just a pretty word diase force that can pull anyone from a pit. And now you carry that grace within you. It's your story, your power, your light. So stop rehearsing the old you. Start declaring the new you, the one who is called by name, the one who is walking forward even if the road behind is messy. The one who says, I'm not who I was, and I'm not yet who I'll be, but I'm chosen in the process. Because that's the truth. God didn't wait for you to be perfect to call you. He called you, and through that calling, he is perfecting you. You are not the sum of your failures. You are the child of a God who restores, renews, and redeems. And no matter what your past looks like, your future is still bright because your identity rests in the one who made you. There's something extraordinary about light. It doesn't argue with the darkness. It doesn't push or pull. It simply shows up and everything changes. You may not feel like a light right now. Maybe you see your past, your struggles, your flaws, and think, how could I shine for anything good? But here's what God says: you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. When God chose you, it wasn't just to comfort you, it was to commission you. You were chosen to walk into dark places and bring hope, to carry peace into chaos, to speak love where hate lives. And no matter how dim your light may feel, it still disrupts darkness. That's the beautiful truth. Even a flicker of light can guide someone lost. You see, light doesn't need to be loud to be effective. It just needs to be present. Some people change the world through big public platforms. Others do it quietly by comforting a grieving friend, forgiving someone who never apologized, or choosing integrity when no one's watching. In each of these moments, you shine. You reflect something bigger than yourself. And whether or not people recognize it, heaven sees. But shining doesn't mean you never feel weary. In fact, light can cost you something, may make you stand out. It may lead to rejection or misunderstanding, but it's worth it. You weren't meant to blend in with the shadows. You were meant to push them back. And every time you choose kindness over cruelty, honesty over deceit, or courage over fear, you become part of that divine mission. There will be days when you feel burned out, days when your own life feels too messy to help anyone else. That's okay. You're not expected to generate light, you're simply called to carry it. The source is not you, it's God, and his supply never runs dry. So even when your heart is tired, his spirit will empower you. You just need to stay connected. You might not realize it, but someone is watching your life. They see how you endure hardship. They see how you still speak hope when things are hard. And in that, you're already changing their life. You don't need a stage to make a difference. You just need to be obedient to where you are right now. Because the light in you, yes, even you yays, enough to start a wildfire of faith in someone else. There's something deep inside every human heart, a quiet ache, a whisper, a sense that your life is meant to matter. That you weren't just placed here to survive, pay bills, and disappear. And guess what? That whisper is right. You were designed for divine impact. Before you ever took your first breath, God had already written you into His story. You are not an accident. You are an answer to a problem the world didn't even know it had yet. Somewhere, someone needs exactly what you carry. Your story, your voice, your presence. That's why the enemy works so hard to convince you you're unqualified, average, or too damaged, because he knows what you're capable of when you walk in purpose. But purpose doesn't always look like the movies. You may never stand on a stage or be celebrated in the spotlight. Impact often starts quietly in how you raise your kids, in how you treat strangers, in how you stay faithful in the unseen. Divine impact is not measured in likes or followers. It's measured in eternal seeds. You are handcrafted for the time and place you're in. Your culture, your language, your appearance, your gifts, none of it is random. Even your struggles were allowed so you could be a beacon of hope to someone else walking through the same fire. You survived that storm not just to tell the story, but to guide others out of theirs. Do you remember the moments when someone's kindness changed your day? When someone's words felt like they were written just for you? When someone simply sat with you in silence and reminded you that you mattered? That's the kind of impact you were made for. You don't need to be loud. You just need to be present, real, and obedient. It takes courage to believe your life has weight. The world is noisy, full of distractions and voices that try to shrink you. But inside you, God placed seeds that can transform lives. It might be creativity. It might be wisdom. It might be empathy. Whatever it is, you were designed to release it, not bury it. God didn't give you potential just to sit on a shelf. He gave it so you could ignite change. So don't wait for permission. Okay? Don't wait for the perfect moment. Step into your impact now, exactly where you are. The divine doesn't need your perfection. It just needs your yes. And that yes can ripple into generations. There are seasons in life when it feels like God is silent. When prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling and answers are nowhere to be found. Those quiet, lonely moments can feel like abandonment. You might wonder, did God forget me? Am I no longer chosen? The answer is a resounding no. Even in silence, you are still chosen. Silence doesn't mean absence. Sometimes God's quiet is a sacred space and invitation to deepen trust, patience, and faith. It's in those silent seasons that character is formed and roots grow deeper. Think of the seed buried underground. In the dark, it looks lifeless. But beneath the surface, life is stirring, preparing for a beautiful bloom. The biblical story of Joseph is a powerful reminder. For years, he was forgotten in prison, overlooked and unheard. Yet God's hand was at work, weaving a plan far bigger than Joseph could imagine. When the silence seemed endless, it was actually the soil for his future greatness. When you feel unseen or unheard, remember, silence is not the end of your story. It's often the birthplace of transformation. The unseen work that happens in your heart and soul is just as important as any visible breakthrough. God's timing is perfect even when it feels delayed. You are chosen not only for the moments of loud victory, but also for the quiet endurance. Your faithfulness in the unseen is a powerful witness. It encourages others who are struggling in their own silence. Your perseverance is a beacon of hope. So hold on, keep trusting, keep believing that God's love for you is constant, even when you can't hear His voice clearly. You were chosen before the silence, during the silence, and after it. Your place in God's story is secure, and your season of breakthrough is coming. Fear is one of the most powerful forces we face. It whispers lies that stop us from stepping forward, trying again, or believing in ourselves. Yet, when God chose you, He didn't call you to a life ruled by fear. He called you to live by faith, to choose courage even when your heart trembles. Choosing faith over fear isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily battle. Some days, fear may scream louder, tempting you to stay stuck in old habits or avoid new challenges. But faith is the quiet voice inside that reminds you, you are chosen, you are equipped. You are not alone. Think of the story of David facing Goliath. He was young, inexperienced, and up against a giant. Yet he chose faith over fear. His confidence wasn't in his own strength, but in the God who had protected him all his life. That same God stands with you today, ready to face your giant's weather. They are doubts, past wounds, or uncertain futures. When fear tries to paralyze you, remember this. Fear only has power when you give it permission. You don't have to be fearless, but you can be brave. You can move forward in small steps, fueled by the promise that God's presence will never leave you. The choice to keep going, especially when it feels hard, is where faith grows strongest. Every time you say yes to God instead of no to fear, you reinforce your identity as someone chosen for greater things. Your courage becomes a testimony, inspiring others to fight their own battles. So when fear knocks at your door, answer with faith. Let your yes echo louder than your doubts. Because your story isn't about fear, it's about the unstoppable power of God working through you. As this journey comes to a close, remember this. God's choice of you is bigger than anything you can understand right now. It stretches beyond your current struggles, your doubts, your fears, and even your victories. You were chosen not only for what you see today, but for the incredible destiny that awaits you tomorrow. Many times, God's plan unfolds slowly, like a masterpiece revealed stroke by stroke. You might not see the full picture yet, but every part of your life is significant. Your past, your present, your choices, they are all threads woven into a greater design. And you are an essential part of that tapestry. The challenges you faced, the pain you've endured, the moments you felt lost, they're not detours. They're the very training ground for your purpose. Just like a seed must push through darkness to bloom, you are being prepared for a destiny that will outshine every hardship. It's easy to get discouraged when the journey feels long or the road uncertain. But the truth is, God has already gone ahead of you. He's set the path, marked your steps, and empowered you with His Spirit. You don't walk alone, ever. You were chosen to live fully, love deeply, and impact profoundly. Your life has meaning far beyond what you can measure. When you embrace this truth, you unlock a peace and confidence that no circumstance can steal. So go forward with hope, walk boldly with faith. Know that the God who chose you is also the God who equips you, sustains you, and celebrates you. Your story is still being written, and it's destined to inspire, heal, and transform more lives than you'll ever know. Why did God choose you despite everything? Because His love is relentless, His grace is unending, and His purposes are eternal. You are chosen not for your perfection, but for your willingness. Not for your ease, but for your faithfulness. Not for your strength, but for His. This isn't just a story to read. It's an invitation to live. Step into the truth that your life matters immensely. To walk with courage, even when the future feels uncertain. To shine your light boldly, knowing you carry the heart of the Creator. Embrace your calling today. Let go of doubt, fear, and regret. Remember that your past doesn't define you, God's love does. You were chosen for such a time as this. And the world needs the unique, beautiful, and powerful you. Thank you for journeying through this story. May you live in joy, purpose, and peace, knowing you are forever chosen, deeply loved, and endlessly capable.